that. I said, what you just did was you went out with a mass, hey, remember we exist campaign to your local audience.
Mm-hmm.
And you told them why the benefits of this was really good. And then you did give them an offer, but the offer wasn't the driver. It might have created some urgency.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab, where you get real-world insights from industry pros to help you drive local revenue and local growth. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize, digital marketing tools powered by local data that automatically work where and when your locations need it most. Learn more at evocalize.com. Well, what's up, and welcome to the Local Marketing Lab. Joining us in the lab today is a guest with over 20 years of experience marketing for brands like Museum of Ice Cream, Freebirds, Wingstop, and many others. She loves hospitality, is an incredible competitive dancer, and an even better marketing leader. Erin Levzow, thanks for joining us in the lab, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Was all of that stuff that I said true?
Yes, everything was true. Fact checked.
All right. Even that you're an incredible marketer, I know that to be a fact, but the competitive dancer, did you just have a recent competition?
Yes. I was just in Chicago for Fred Astaire's dance sport competition. And yes, I am a competitive ballroom dancer. So, Nice. And you did well. I did very well. I won for Showcase, which is like a theatrical piece. And then in both of my championship rounds for rhythm, came in second against some pretty incredible dancers. So I felt really good. And you never know how you're going to do. And it's supposed to be about how you dance. But sometimes I black out when I'm out there. So when I watch the video, that was all right.
You're like, when am I? When you're done? When am I? Yeah. That's awesome. Well, hey, why don't we just get started with you telling us a little bit about your journey, maybe your background and what you're working on today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my background, I grew up in Illinois and have a degree in theater. And after college, headed out to Vegas and found an apartment, slept on the floor of this apartment until I could find a job, and started in theater, fell into HR talent development from theater, but working in the casino space. So for Caesars Corporate. And when the recession hit, my career really started in marketing because I was let go as a trainer because they don't need trainers when everyone was losing their job and they weren't hiring people.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd do anything. They said, what do you know about internet marketing? And I said, I have the Facebook. And I got the job.
Facebook.
Yeah. I started at the bottom. I was like the coffee go-getter, the PowerPoint clicker. Like there was no one below me. I took on everything and anything someone threw at me. And I worked my way up and I went from Caesars to MGM, where I moved into a manager role. I'm doing all media buying and planning for many of the properties. Then went to Palms, and then we just decided to, not that there's anything wrong with raising children in Las Vegas, but we decided we wanted a little bit different vibe. And so went to work for Wingstop in Dallas. That led me to Freebirds after that as the CMO. And then left there, went to Hathaway, now Bounteous, the MarTech agency leading the vertical for CRM and strategic services. And then was recruited up to Wisconsin to be the CMO of Marcus Hotels and Resorts, 21 hotel property throughout the U.S. and 50 independent restaurants. And then left there to go work and lead marketing technology for Del Taco. And I was there when we were acquired by Jack in the Box, so I got to work a little bit on both. And then the Museum of Ice Cream, and now most recently have been consulting on restaurant, retail, even memory care, as well as software and tech services for restaurants, which has been really fun.
Very cool. Yeah, restaurants, it's just a fun space to be in for sure, especially on the tech side.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So I guess maybe you can tell us a little bit about like what you think is the most important aspect of local marketing and what you think moves the needle. Let me start that again. What you think moves the needle the most?
Well, with local marketing, what's great about it is you have to understand the market in which you're in, right? It's in the title, local marketing. But so many companies don't. They look at it and they go, it's cookie cutter. If I do this in this city, I should do it in this city. And what connects with your community can be different, right? It's still a connection, but it can be vastly different on where you want to pop up, what you want to show. And so for me, local marketing could be it starts with knowing your audience, right? Who are you talking to? Why are you talking to them? And what makes up that audience? Who's coming in your trade area? And then whether it's grassroots, which is still boots on the ground, or digital, those are the best ways to get to that customer as quickly as possible. But you have to be able to speak the language. And the language is the community of which you're in.
Yeah, for sure. On the digital side, we get a lot of our guests do talk to the community involvement aspect, like engaging with folks, like kind of being the mayor of your community and trying to get in front of many people as possible, doing co-marketing and stuff like that. But on the digital side, we don't really get too many folks sharing their views of that side of the local marketing. I don't know, maybe you could dive in a little bit deeper into like digital, like what do you think works? Like how do you engage your different audiences? How do you create messaging that resonates with different segments? I don't know.
So it can be as simple as creating different, again, understanding your audience, but creating different segments to speak to. So if I see an ad on social media and the ad says, hey, come into our restaurant and try this. Okay. But now if the ad says, hey, I live in Heartland. Hey, Heartland, game this Friday, but pre-game, come into the restaurant and try this. It's going to catch my attention, right? Because they're speaking to me. They're speaking to me as the local market. They're speaking to me as the local restaurant in the local market, which is different than a vast, hey, you're a worldwide chain that's trying to connect with me one-on-one in the community. And digital is a very easy place to set that up and do that and be able to connect with an audience based on what you know about them. Hey, I have kids. Guess what I'm doing? I'm not sure this weekend, but I'm sure I'm going to be with my children. How do you speak to that in the community and what's going on? That's going to give this ability to stand out in what is a very cluttered ecosystem in digital.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening and you've listened to other episodes, we've talked about like now is the best time. Like there's never been a time when folks have access to digital marketing channels like they do today. And especially on the free side of things, because on the organic side, you can create endless amounts of content. The more content you create, the faster you create it, the more you learn, you accelerate your learnings, figure out what resonates with your audience and push different content pieces across different channels. And, there's really, it's really the possibilities are endless in terms of being able to develop content to be able to connect with your local audience.
100%. And I agree that a lot of that local content and creating continuous content is that need to remind people you exist. We are also, and the people that we care about are like, everybody has their own story that they're going through every single day. And so the idea that like a restaurant or a company thinks they're going to remember me, very, very slim is that going to happen. Like I literally will tell my husband, let's go to dinner, and then he goes, where do you want to go? I can't think of one restaurant around us all of a sudden. And I'm like, I don't know. And so you end up going to the same place every time because you can't remember that there's 3,000 restaurants because no one reminded me they existed, right? I was just most recently at a medical spa talking to the med spa company. I was there to get like an IV drip. Big fan of like getting healthy vitamins in your body. Turns out they help. But as I'm talking to them, they're telling me, oh, this offer we did, it really worked. And I said, well, what did you do? They said, oh, we did an offer. It's not even that great of an offer. I said, I don't know that the offer itself worked. I think what worked is you went out and emailed your list. You went and texted people. You sent all your current clients that. I said, what you just did was you went out with a mass, hey, remember we exist campaign to your local audience. And you told them why the benefits of this was really good. And then you did give them an offer, but the offer wasn't the driver. It might have created some urgency. You just used the right channels to talk to your local audience. And they were like, oh, that's interesting. And they're like, so we don't need an offer? And I was like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's not what actually moved the needle for you. It was reminding people that you exist.
Yeah, staying top of mind,
Mhm.
because it's not every day. For the most part, most folks aren't like every single day I'm going to go eat out.
No.
What's a restaurant near me? It's like for me, for my family, it's like maybe once, maybe twice. I'm sorry, once a week, maybe once every other week,
Yeah.
depending on if we're doing something special for the kiddos or want to take the whole
It
family
gets
out, whatever it might
expensive.
be.
It gets really
Yeah,
expensive. Like, I have 3 kids, and they started eating a lot more as they grew up, and, also normal, but gets
yeah,
way more expensive when all of a sudden they're like, "No, I don't want the kids' meal. I want the adult
yeah,
meal." And I was like, "But you still qualify. Get the kids' meal. Just
yeah,
get the kids' meal. Still 1/4 of what the adult price is."
yeah. It's so true. Yeah, we run into that all the time. My son, he's just like, Dad, I just want to. He gets the adult meal ever since he was 10.
Yeah.
And he houses it because he's just a growing kid.
Then he probably eats off other people's plates too. Like, even my daughters as
Yeah,
they grow, they're just like, "Hey, are you gonna eat that?" And I was like, "Guess not. You already took it." So,
yeah. Yeah, it is something that's important. Is like you said, it's important to stay top of mind,
mhm.
because if that every other week you're going out, it's like when you have to make that choice,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you've been served up some form of communication, and it could be creating compelling enough content that's fun, it's engaging enough, maybe organic on social to get people to want to subscribe, so that they're seeing your stuff more often, or maybe you're just creating more engaging content that the algorithms are going to want to serve up because they know it's really good, and that type of stuff keeps you top of mind. So when it comes time to make the choice, whether you're a med spa or a restaurant, whatever it might be, they're going to think of you.
And you have to target. You have to, and using paid social and organic social are different reasons to use both, right? Organic
Mm-hmm.
social, you're going after someone who um, likely already knows you exist, right? They're going to see your post
Mm-hmm.
because they already follow you or their friend engaged in your post and it's getting served up to you. But they probably know that you exist. So you can start talk to them like you have a little bit of a friendship. You're paid social, you want to go after that new customer, but you also still need to have some paid social, whether it's boosting a post or promoting a organic post so that because again, organic algorithm, your whole audience is not seeing that post. We all like to think that every piece of content we put out is gold, but it's not. And so not everybody gets to see it. And so you can
Mm-hmm.
boost that to get those really important organic pieces in front of people. But then your paid social, go after the new customers. Go introduce yourself. Tell them why you exist and what makes you different as quickly as you can in 3 seconds or less. And then eventually they'll move over. But when's the last time you've gone to a restaurant, sat down, and picked up your phone and went, "You know what? I think I'm gonna follow these guys on Instagram or Facebook."
Right.
You just don't. So,
Yeah.
likely, a lot of your customers are not walking in and are already on your social media. So you do need to promote and pay for some of that.
Yeah. What are some tactics that you've tried that have worked really well, whether it's a campaign on
And
social or anything really?
when it's all connected, when the same story you're telling is connected,
Mm,
works really, really well. Partnerships also work really well because local community partnerships, when you're talking about marketing, whether you bring that partnership to life digitally or in real life, even better if you do it across all verticals. Uh,
hmm.
but you're getting to their audience. So, for instance, like Museum of
Exactly.
Ice Cream, we partnered with Kendra Scott. It made all the sense in the world. They happen to be very close to one of our locations. And that way we were getting to the very Kendra Scott avid followers and reaching them. But they were also excited about the partnership because they were getting to the Museum of Ice Cream fans and followers. Whether it was like
Right.
Wingstop, we would partner with local community sports teams or national sports team in that local community. And again, same
Mhm.
thing. We're getting our message about wings, which it turns out sports fan enjoys wings typically. Uh,
Yeah.
their customer and they're getting their message about following that sport and the engagement with us to each other. So it really benefits both parties. In fact, we even worked with like WWE, the same idea. Like, let's go
Mm,
after where is our customer? What do they look like? And where are they sitting and what are they doing? And then finding those right
yeah.
partnerships. And when you do that, whether it's with the local um, soccer team that's like all sixth grade,
Yeah.
right? Whatever it might be, getting your message out there in the community really helps. The other thing I find, I was part of the Book It. Remember the Book It program at Pizza Hut?
Hmm.
It was
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
when we were kids, and like you actually had to go to Pizza Hut and you take your certificate for a personal pan pizza for reading like 6 books, which
Yeah.
ugh. And then here's my certificate. But your parents would buy pizza, right? They weren't going to eat your tiny
Yeah.
little it probably cost them 2 cents.
Yeah.
Super smart local marketing. And restaurants
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. And so getting your local or field marketer to connect with the schools and saying, hey, we want to give every kid here who does jump rope for heart or something, hey, a gift
Mhm.
certificate for this. And the only way they can redeem it for their Culver's does it, like a free custard
Mhm.
kids. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to Culver's and not getting food for myself,
Right.
which if you've
Right.
ever had their
Exactly.
chicken fingers are the best chicken fingers I think I've ever had in my life. And that
They're
goes
good. They're cheese curds
casual.
too. Yeah.
Oh, their cheese curds. Yes. I mean, granted, I live in Wisconsin, so I'm a cheese curd connoisseur, but
Yeah.
they are so good. So good. I'm like shouting out all the restaurants one by one. Like it's kind of like going to Raising
Yes.
Cane's and getting like Texas toast, right? It's so good. I'm hungry, I think.
Yeah.
About lunchtime.
That's awesome. Well, what if you had to make a suggestion for somebody who's really struggling to drive growth at the local level? What would you suggest they do maybe today or sometime this week to help turn that around for them?
So I think sitting down and taking 20 minutes and just going, what does my guest look like? Who are
Mm.
they, right? Whether it's psychographic, demographic, what is it? What exists around my market, right? Don't fool yourself and think, I want to go promote 20 miles out. They're probably not going to drive 20 miles.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
throw a net way out there, you're only going to get 1 or 2 people, right? But if you throw a net right in your backyard, likely that people come in. Working with partnerships. So where am I located? How many businesses are around me? Let me go talk to those
Hmm.
businesses and let's swap information, right? Doing drops. Those are all grassroots things. Walk to the door and say, hey, because a lot of restaurants will say, once you try our food, you'll love it. And it's usually the case. Like I haven't met a lot of food I don't like, but you drop the food and you say, hey, we want you to try these cookie bites. Come on in. And they
Hmm.
do. They try it. And there's something about this free sample. And the same reason Costco still gives free samples. Like that's my lunch on Saturday is walking around Costco, I think. But you try all these little samples and then you're like, oh, I do. It's worth buying a whole thing of it. And so doing that
Yeah.
as a restaurant, setting up your paid social so that you're really targeting and speaking to the local community with it and not going like I have seen somebody like a one restaurant location do a campaign and I'll be like, I saw this in another state. And they're like, we targeted friends of friends. No, you need to keep it in your local community. Like that was the wrong targeting, buddy. But
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know, right? Do you have an
Yeah.
email list? Do you have an SMS list? And is your data all talking about? I've consulted on a restaurant solution that brings POS data and all this data together. And they have an enormous amount of their customer data now because it's actually integrated. It's actually built in a way that you can speak to the customer right after they walk
Hmm.
through the door. And again, that's restaurant space. Who can do that? There's not like most loyalty programs have 10% loyalty, right? Or 20% loyalty. But if you could actually talk to 90% of your customers, then you know exactly what you need to do. So making sure your house is sound, right? Your business is sound and how your technology and everything's set up. And then using the tools,
Hmm.
whether it's SMS, email. So I know I just spouted and your question was like, what's like one thing? Mine is your one thing is to sit down for 20 minutes and figure out what you actually need to do and what's a nice to have. And that will help you a lot. A lot of times I see people, they'll come to me and they'll go, we're having such a hard time hiring, which it's hard. But I go, where is your now hiring sign or you're hiring now or jobs open on your location? Well, I don't know. We've never hung up a sign. I said, your customers can be your employees. Someone who already
Hmm.
loves your restaurant, likely if they need a part-time job would be like, yeah, I could work here. That's cool. And you might actually
Yeah.
like them because they already have money to come into your restaurant. So, and they're passionate about your food and they already know your brand.
Hmm.
Well, hang up a sign. They're like,
Right.
oh, all right, I could start there. And it's surprising what little things we overlook because we get too close to it.
Yeah. You're too far in the weeds.
Mhm.
No, those are all great examples. Have you noticed anyone, it could be folks you've worked with, maybe in consulting or just a brand that you've engaged with who's like doing local marketing really, really well?
There's a lot of brands. There's a lot that aren't. But I have thought Raising Cane's has a really great field team and local marketing team,
Mm,
and you see them pop up in different ways. And I think for a while they tried to go cookie cutter and do the same thing in every market, and they got smart to that and went, "No, no, no, we need
mm,
to understand the market." And then you started to see these field teams hire people in the markets instead of being like,
mm,
"We're gonna all sit in headquarters." No, I want someone that understands the San Antonio market, that sits in San Antonio, that has those personal
mhm,
relationships. Because what we find is some markets need that. They need the personal connection. They don't, and you don't want corporate coming in going, "No, no, no, everyone do this." That doesn't always work. Um,
mhm,
but there's truly a lot of them, and it can be as simple as like your mom and pop restaurant that does it. We have a restaurant here. There's 2 of them, and they're Maxims, and you see their name
mm.
everywhere. And it's almost like they took out every ad to sponsor a team or something, and you wanna go in there. You wanna support them because they're supporting the community. And, I think that's always really nice when you see that dichotomy play off really, really well.
Yeah.
But there's so many that do such a nice job. There's also restaurants that you see everywhere for a while, and then you see them disappear, and you can almost tell, like, "Oh, they had a manager change." Like, "What happened? Where'd
Yeah.
it go?" So, it's really not anything specific other than local marketing. You need someone to do it. And a lot of restaurants just don't invest, or they go, "We're just gonna have the GM do it." Well, that's really difficult because they have to run a restaurant. So it's hard for them to
Yeah,
be
they're busy.
marketing too, because one's outside of the 4 walls and one's inside of the 4 walls. And so if you spend your
Yeah.
money inside the 4 walls, you really need to hire someone that can focus outside the 4 walls.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, I think those are all really good insights. Switching gears a little bit. So you talked a little bit earlier about how you're a competitive dancer,
Yes.
and we hang out a lot at different events, especially lately, have been running into each other at different shows. And that's all I hear about is dance, dance, dance. Like you, I'm just teasing.
That
But
sounds
I
so
did,
cool.
I, I did think it would be funny. I did think it would be funny to drop your image into AI and see if it could crank out you as a contestant on Dancing with the Stars,
Oh my goodness.
which, which ironically enough, I could not get a picture of you and like, what's his name? Huff.
Derek
What's his
Huff,
first
yeah.
name?
Yeah, yeah.
Derek Huff. I kept swapping the face, and it was like making Derek's face your face.
Oh my god.
It was the funniest. Because you both had like blonde features and stuff, and it was like pulling that in. I was dying laughing. I was like, I can't really show that one.
That's hysterical. We
Anyways,
actually there's a gentleman who runs part of Fred Astaire, Tony Devolani, and he's from 13 seasons of Dancing with the Star, one of the pros. And
oh
yeah,
yeah,
he's wonderful. Like I just saw him this last weekend in Chicago. So
that's hilarious.
yeah, it's really cool. So there is overlap. Although Anna Delvey is going to be on Dancing with the Stars this season, and do you know who Anna Delvey is?
I don't. I'm going to Google it.
The woman who there's like a whole drama series on her that like
Mm,
out of all this money, went to prison for 3 years. She's still under house arrest, or like she's allowed to go around New York, but like still has to wear an ankle monitor. And she's gonna wear it on Dancing with the Stars. And it's very
my gosh.
controversial on whether or not they should have let her on. But it's very interesting. I'm kind of like, it's all the TikTok content I've seen recently.
I'm definitely going to check it out for sure. Well, cool. Before we let you go, why don't you tell everyone how they could follow you? Social, LinkedIn, Facebook.
All the channels. Yeah, LinkedIn, all under Erin Levzow. LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. If you want to follow on TikTok, you can. It's just dances with me and my daughters learning silly Barbie dances. So feel free. But yes, I'm on all those channels.
Perfect. And if you happen to be in the restaurant industry and you go to different events, Erin seems to be at a lot of different events, and she speaks on different panels and actually has some of the most insightful commentary, I think, of most of the folks that I've seen So hats off to you, Erin. Everything, when I go to your sessions, it's always very actionable in terms of the insights you give. You and Rev, I think, are two of my faves for sure.
Rev definitely does an amazing job. And he started that because we kept going to these places and people would talk, and it was like they were pontificating on marketing. And you would walk away and you're like, well, that sounded cool, but what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, where's the meat?
Yeah. And so he would go, I'm not going to get up there. If I'm going to speak, I'm going to say things that you can actually go action on very quickly, which is similar, like the same as you. You were like, what is one or two things people can actually go do?
Yeah.
And it's so much more helpful to like someone who's sitting in the audience. Like I had 2 CEOs come up to me after the last one and say, that was so helpful. Can we talk more? Because what they're sitting in the audience going, they need to boost their sales tomorrow. They don't want a long tail. I mean, we all need a plan, but they want sales now. And so it's really impressive. I've been very impressed with Rev, with listening to you talk. And there's so many smart people in this space. When given the opportunity and get to share that, you can learn something.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, you and Rev give so much meat. I end up walking away from those sessions with the meat sweats. So
awesome.
Well, awesome. Erin, it was a ton of fun having you in the lab. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks for everyone for listening.
Thank you.
As always, thanks for joining us in the Local Marketing Lab. This podcast is brought to you by Evocalize. To learn how Evocalize can help you grow your business, visit evocalize.com. If you learned something new from today's episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook at Evocalize. That's EVOCALIZE. And on X at Evocalize Inc. And remember, keep innovating and trying new things. You never know what's going to connect with your audience until you try. And until next time, thanks for listening.